Hey girl, welcome back to the Ready to Rise podcast. If you are not tuning in with like a coffee in hand or just like a beverage of choice, like whatever it is for you, please like take a minute and grab one. I just really do picture us like girlfriends, like sitting on the couch, chatting, like having a deep conversation, maybe on a walk with our coffees. Like it just feels so good to like have like this moment of kind of like girl talk. I know you might also be like me and be listening to this, while you're doing those activities or while you're like driving or in the shower or whatever. So, I mean, tune in from whatever, you want to be doing at the time because I am totally here for it. I have my coffee. You're probably going to hear me take a couple of sips. I guess now we're calling it is it a Profi? What? I don't know how to pronounce it. Somebody hit me up on Instagram. I think I'm getting old now, but it's the protein coffee. I'm like so in love with this. It's just instead of adding like a bunch of like sugary creamer, I just added like this protein mix and it's freaking tasty. And I'm getting like 30 grams of protein in this. So I'm feeling good about this. Love it. I'm going to piggyback off of last episode. If you didn't listen to it, like it's not like required or anything like that to listen to this one today, but we were talking about like a little bit of morbid things, just kind of talking about like our life and like how we don't have a million years here. And it's unfortunate. I wish we did, but it is limited and I want us to like make it happy. I want us to make it fun and be excited to wake up for this life and be excited to live it. So today I'm going to have you guys do a little activity. Like, you can do it after the episode, after you listen, but we're going to do a little bit of a list formation and I'm going to tell you about this. So I just was kind of reviewing back to like the things that I used to do that like really made me happy. Like when I first started my happiness journey was, gosh, like I guess like 6 years ago or so. And I read this book. It's called The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. And it's such a good book. I actually really love her. And I find her voice really soothing for some reason too. So I like listening to her. She narrates her own books on Audible usually. So I love hearing them. But she talked about something that really did change my life when I implemented it. And that was doing new things, experiencing happy things. And we're going to kind of modify that today with what I'm going to teach you. But I just wanted to tell you a little bit about it because I have done this and it really has helped so much. So she like spoke about something called, I forget what she even called it, but basically it was just kind of like thinking about new experiences, new places that you want to go, new things that you want to see, and then literally doing them. And I think in her book, if I recall correctly, she did them like once a month. So she would go somewhere new once a month, try something new like once a month. And she incorporated it into time with her kids or like with her husband. So she was kind of doing two things at once where she was spending time with people, her relationships, pouring into her relationships, but also doing something new. Because studies show that when you get yourself out of your current environment and you go somewhere new or try something new, have that change of scenery, it really does give you kind of like that dopamine. It gives you all of the feel goods and it really does raise your happiness. So it's such a cool practice. I first started doing it and I wanted to be an overachiever, but also I was in a really kind of dark place that I needed to kind of be an overachiever in this area. And I had the time, right? Like I was only working 3 days a week as a nurse at the time. So I had extra time. So I did this and I decided to do it once a week. I also have my dog, right? So my dog needs to get out. She needs to move around and go do things and explore. So I made it my mission to like write down a list of all of these new places to go and things to see that I could do with her. And I made it our weekly thing. I think it was like every Friday we would go out and I would find these trails like, oh my gosh, up along the beach. If you are local to me, and here in California, like Sonoma County, there's this gorgeous area up north called Sea Ranch. And if you haven't been there, oh my gosh, there's a lot of trails. There's a ton of trails that are just right along Oceanside. But it's gorgeous. So we did a lot of like, we'd go hike up there or even just here on the Sonoma coast. We just went all over the place, like Armstrong Woods, just so many beautiful places. And it changed me dramatically. Obviously, I was getting a lot healthier because I was getting outside, I was moving my body, but also just my mind, my mental state. Having something to look forward to made me really happy. It was, and actually, I just learned this, that it's literally like proven scientifically that even just creating the list, even just talking about it, thinking about it gives you dopamine hits. So even just thinking about, or planning it, that was already raising my spirits right there. And then getting out and doing it raised my spirits even more. Like actually getting out and going and just doing the thing. And not to mention when you're in nature, it's just so healing for you. It's so healing. It's so beautiful. So getting out and doing that, it just was so many different components that made me overall a way happier person. And side note, I took a lot of photos. Like I'm not like a photographer by any means, but just my husband will tell you, I suck at photos. Um, but just with like the iPhone camera, like just taking random pictures of, where we were going and what we were doing, it really actually helped me with that happiness as well because I was looking back on those. So if I was stuck at work and it was just a particularly hard day or I just was really like having a hard time, I would literally pull my phone up and look through the photos. I had a whole album of my little adventures with Kleina, and I had like a whole album and I would like look through all of them. And it was so much fun. It was so cool. So I want to share with you something that I learned today that I feel like you should try. It's a happiness list. So a little bit different from what I did, where I was like making a list of places to go and then constantly going to them once a week. This is like a list where you're actually writing out things that make you happy. So if you like write this list out, I'm just thinking right now, the number. So I'll start with that. Writing out 25 things. So taking an actual, like I would prefer for you to do this on an actual piece of paper. Your notes app is fine because then it's like with you, but I want you to do it on an actual piece of paper because like I was just saying, when you're writing the things down and when you can see them, that is going to give you some of that dopamine as well, just seeing that list. So putting that list up somewhere in your office or somewhere, that you can see it often, like maybe a mirror in your bathroom or whatever, that's going to help to boost the happiness just in itself. So I think putting it written where somewhere that you're actually going to see it would be really helpful. But I'm going to have you write your list of 25 things. And it's just kind of a random number. I wanted to make sure that it was enough where you could like maybe do 2 of them a month if you chose to. Or in general, it's 2025. 25 is just like a good number. It's like a quarter, of 100. So it just felt like a good, strong number. Not too much, not too little, right? And if you list out 25 things that make you happy, the list process is going to make you happy. It's going to make you remember so many things that you maybe forgot about, or maybe you just haven't done in a long time. Also, having 25 of them does exactly what I had just said, where you can pick some of them to do. It gives you a big enough, like, number of things so that you can pull from them pretty easily. So when you're in a moment that you're feeling a little bit down or not, like excited, or you're feeling just a little bit off or lost, you can look at this list and pick one that you can do in that moment. And some of them you might not be able to do. Maybe they involve going outside, or, it's the middle of the workday and you can't go and do that. But maybe one of them is like listening to a song or just getting up and doing some breathing exercises. Then it's something that is sustainable for you to actually do in the moment so that you can like have that happiness, right? So writing them down, like 25 of these things, try to get like a good mix of things, a mix of things that for a fact like light you up right away, a mix of things that are very, very easy to do. Maybe some of them are things that are a little bit harder to do, but are so worth it, like a big hike or just going somewhere that you really enjoy. Maybe it's going out to the ocean or to somewhere in nature that you like. And also, for me, a lot of them have been kind of like songs or call this friend or dance to like very specifically like dance to this song or read this page of this book. Call this person or like look through your favorites of your photos, just even drinking like a glass of water, like list out just things that make you happy, things that make you so much happier. And if there's any like specific practices, it's a little on the woo-woo side, so you might not link it right away to happiness. But even just box breathing for me has really helped. Like just doing like a couple rounds of box breathing. And I put that on my list because I was like, no, like I want to remember, this makes me happy. But it can be anything. Just, like watering my plants in the morning makes me really happy. Just calling my husband makes me happy. Playing with my dog makes me really happy. Whatever it is for you, just writing down 25 of those things. And I want you to actually do this. Like, don't just listen to this episode and be like, that sounds really good. Like, I want you to seriously do it right now if you can after listening, or just, put it on your calendar, because truly writing them down, it's going to make it so much more accessible for you that in the moment when you're struggling, it's hard to think of these things, right? In the moment when we're going through it, it's hard for us to remember the healing practices that work really well, or, what we can do to bring ourselves back into a happier state, because we're so caught up in our feelings and our current feelings and what we're currently going through. So it's hard to call on those memories. So if you have it written down somewhere, you can literally that's the only thing you have to remember at all times, like any time, is okay, go check the list. That's all I have to do is check the list. Something as I'm looking at it will spark my, memory, or spark an idea, or feel really good for me, spark joy. And then that's what I'll choose, and I'll go do that. That's all you have to remember. So try it. I want to hear back from you after you make your list. You can even take a picture of it, post it in your, IG stories, tag me at Hello Audrey Rose. Like, I just want to see this. Like let's just make this the year that we crush it. Like, let's make this the year where things change. We're no longer living in the autopilot mode, the hamster wheel. Like, we're not doing that this year. This year is the year where we are going to make moves in our life. Like, we are changing our lives. We're going to be so much happier and just so much better off, rather than the same years. I know that the last 4 years have just kind of felt like that. Like, they've just kind of felt like we're just caught up in this hamster wheel and we're just going through the motions and overwhelmed and chaotic. But this is the year that all of that changes. And it's going to start with very simple practices like this. You might think when you hear some of the things I share that, like, oh, that seems really easy, or that seems like a no-brainer. But really, they are the small practices that are sustainable, that are going to help us to change our lives. So I can't wait to see you back here next time. I wish you so much luck in doing this, and I just wish you the best. I just really want you to be happy, sis.